The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
There we go. Can you hear me now, Dennis? Okay, there we go. Sorry about that, guys. This had a little audio issue there. Anyway, welcome to the TowerCoverage.com Basics webinar. We will cover all kinds of things about your tower coverage account to include what is TowerCoverage.com. TowerCoverage.com is a RF propagation website that allows you to generate coverage maps for nearly any geographic area in the world, with the exception of Antarctica. And this will allow you to run your day-to-day business. You can create your RF propagation maps. You can integrate it into your website, collect end-user submissions, track your installed customers, track the ones that you couldn't get installed. It gives you the ability to see where the best location is to roll out a new tower. There's all kinds of powerful tools inside of Tower Coverage that allow you to simplify the operation of your WISP. We'll start here on the home page. There's lots of things that you can scroll down through on the home page. List of features that are available, our publicly viewable maps for all the different continents. You can see what other people are in your area, what other WISPs are in your area. Every account is allowed to have up to 3 publicly viewable maps. For each map, you get a pin that's on this publicly viewable map. Allows customers that don't have a tower coverage account, just end users, to come here and scroll in, see if there's coverage in their area, and then click on your pin, and it'll give your business information. That you can, like I said, you can have up to 3, and this will give you 3 pins. So you can, if you have a large coverage area, it'll put the pin in the geographic center of your publicly viewable map. So you want to make sure that if you have a very large area, you utilize those 3 maps, and that way you get the 3 pins, and you have a pin that's in the center of each of your regions of your coverage area. Another very powerful thing right here on the home page, without even having an account, we have the looking for internet service. What this allows is end users to come here. They don't even have to know that your WISP exists. If they stumble across TowerCoverage.com, they can fill out this form here. And this will, if they fill out this form and they're within 50 miles of your coverage area, it will send you an email with the 6 best possible links on your network to this customer location with the data that they filled out on this form. So it's very helpful. Keep in mind when you get these, you want to make sure you respond to them, because any other WISP in your area, they got the same results as well. But continue on here. We do have our pricing and our available features listed here on the homepage, and also our contact information if you want to get a hold of us. Once you have your account created, you log into your account and you want to make sure that you start out by updating your account settings. You want to do this because in your company profile, this is the information that is displayed on that pin. When somebody clicks on the pin on the public map, this is the information that it uses to show on that pin. In your users tab, you'll see that we have the master account. The first account created will always be the master account. It can be changed and modified later on if you needed to change that. But you can add, the master account can add 2 more admins to the account. You want to be careful when you're adding admins. They have access to everything in your account. The payment details, the billing, your API information, your API keys, everything. They can delete your maps. Whenever you integrate into your website, you want to make sure that you mark those maps, because if somebody deletes the map out of your Tower Coverage account and it's linked to an iframe or a form on your website, that form will stop working because the map don't exist anymore. So be careful when adding admins, because they can delete your maps. Otherwise, you can add as many input users and read-only users that you would like. This allows you can set their start page. If you want to create a read-only user group and set their start page to your data collection MultiMap, as soon as they log into Tower Coverage, it automatically takes them to the map that you want them qualifying customers off of. So it's a really handy little tool to be able to set those. Your managed subscription, this is where you can go to upgrade, downgrade your account. You can, if you're on a new payment process, you can go up, down as you like. It'll prorate accordingly. So if you're on a tier 2, you need more API calls, you need more coverages, you can simply just come here and click the sign up per month on the next tier up, and be able to instantly upgrade the amount of coverages, API calls, and so on that you have available on your account. You can upload your logo in the account settings. This will only take a PNG or a JPEG. So you can upload your logo here, so that way whenever you're creating your point-to-point links, which is right here, when you're creating your links, there's an option to print the link. You have a button available to print the link, and that will make it to where your logo is on top of that printable link instead of the Tower Coverage icon. Your EUS settings. This one is a very key portion, very key part to make sure that you have up to date, especially if if you plan on using the iframe. If you want to use the API version, the customizable version of the website integration form, this area does not really pertain to you, with the exception of the custom pins. So, like if you want to add custom pins. Instead of the default serviceable new EUS, no service and installed pins, you can add custom pins. Name them whatever you want. Add an icon to it, so that way you have more than just the 4 EUS pins available to you. If you have a location that keeps getting hit by lightning, you can create a pin that shows that on your EUS data. However you want to use them, we added them in there so that way it gives you a little bit more flexibility with your EUS data. The EUS iframe settings, the landing settings gives you 3 options. You have the option of displaying the map zoomed in on the client with a message. You can display only the message, or you can redirect them to a different URL. The message itself can only be a simple message. Make sure you don't put any return characters in there, so no tabs or enter buttons. It's a very simple message. If you want to get more detailed, once again, using the API version, it's there and available, and you can do a lot more with that. But this is just to modify the settings of the EUS iframe. The movable pin text, this is the box that pops up after they submit their name, address, phone number, and so on to the iframe. It will show a Google map with a pin, and that pin will have a text box, and this is the text that is above that pin. So if you wanted to say something different, if you want to type it in there in a different language, you can do so here. Your EUS emails, this allows you to add up to 4 additional email addresses. You can actually change this first one. By default, it puts that in there. That's the one that you signed up with the account. You can actually change this because the company email address will receive the EUS emails by default, so you do not have to keep that one in there. If you want to put 5 different ones in here, you can. If you want to put a distribution group, you can as well. You can set your default settings, so that way it by default already has your country and your state selected, or province if that's applicable. Your Google Analytics ID will track your EUS iframe on your Google Analytics stats. You can go to your API settings next. And this is where you can see which kinds of API calls have been made off of your account. You can see your API push results. So if you have a billing system set up, this will allow you to see the status of the push that we did to the billing system. And here's where you enter in your credentials. You select your type of billing system. The EUS billing API does not use an API call. So keep that in mind. Your API calls are not going to be consumed when we push to your billing system. The API calls are only consumed when you actually post data to api.towercoverage.com. And we'll cover those, touch on those here shortly. But there are all kinds of different APIs that are available that do use your API calls, and there are a couple features inside Tower Coverage. Some of the bulk features will consume API calls as well if you utilize them. If you're a Tier 5 account or greater, you can use the bulk API upload. There is a download template here. This will allow you to take all of those customer entries that you've been saving up for the last decade, and now that you have Tower Coverage to assist you in finding if those customers are serviceable or not, you can take them and put them on our CSV, and you can upload it into Tower Coverage, and it will let you know every single one of those what the 6 best possible signals are to all of those leads that you've never tested before. So a nice little handy tool to allow you to catch up from the past. Next thing you want to do is you want to go in here and adjust your LAN cover. As you can see, by the way, the tutorial keeps popping up here. You can close it each time if you just don't need the tutorial for this window, or you can go up in here and you can actually just shut it off so it doesn't keep coming up. Your LAN cover settings. These LAN cover settings, the colors that you see on each one of these boxes directly corresponds. When we get to a coverage map, I will show you where you can actually view this data within your coverage. And the colors that you see here they directly correspond with the actual types of LAN cover that are used to create the propagation maps or your heat maps of your coverages. So that's why these colors are the way they are. All your heights are in meters, as you can see here. You have to enter your height in meter, and your density is a 0 to 10,000 value. So at 5,000, that's equivalent to 50%. So keep that in mind whenever you're setting your LAN cover values. You can create as many LAN cover types as you want. So if you have coverage maps that are from East Coast to West Coast, or in different states, and your tree densities are different. If you're in an area in the Midwest, you're going to get have your evergreen trees and stuff that are 60, 70 foot, that type height. But if you go into a redwood forest, you're going to need to set your LAN cover settings to correspond with being in that area that has those kind of trees. So depending on where you're at, if your network is big enough, you'll need to make multiple LAN covers to be able to adjust for the different regions of where your network is. To add or edit these, all you have to do is click your add new. You give it a name and you hit add new, and it will appear in this drop down box right here. To edit it, you just select it. As you can see, we have one that's called 50%, and we set all of them to the 50% value, or 5,000 for the density. On the urban buildup, you'll see whenever we get into a coverage, the satellite only only knows that it is urban buildup. So that meaning it knows that it's a man-made structure. It doesn't know its exact height, so it uses the footprint of that what it sees there. It uses the footprint of it to determine whether it thinks it's a big building or a small building. If it thinks it's a big building, it will put it as the urban buildup high. If it thinks it's a small one, it'll set it as urban buildup low. So you'll want to adjust these accordingly as well. So if your average, the average building in your area is smaller than normal, you can turn that down a little bit. If you don't have any enormously huge skyscrapers, you want to make sure you turn that urban buildup high setting down as well. Once you have all your land cover set up, you can put in some overlays into your tower coverage account. There's a Google Map restriction of 3 meg, so there's nothing we can't increase that at all. It does have to be a KML or a KMZ. Make sure you do not put any spaces or special characters in the name of the file before you upload it, but then you can upload it here into Tower Coverage and be able to view any of your KML overlays on your multi-maps. Keep in mind, if you create your overlay in Google Earth, there are some features like bouncing pins and stuff like that that do not fire correctly in a Google Map because it's browser based and not on your actual computer. So there are some of those special effects things that will not work, but the overlay itself should work just fine. When you're creating coverages, you will see that we have many antenna patterns already available. At this time, our list is it's pretty large. We're not really adding any more to the default antenna list, but you can add as many as you like. If there's an antenna that you are wanting to use and you do not see it in the list, you can either use the generic antennas or you can come here. You can contact the manufacturer and ask them for the radio mobile compatible .ant file for the antenna that you wish to use, and simply add it into your tower coverage account, or you can use the download the antenna pattern creation document up here, and this will allow you to input the gain readings at all the different azimuth and elevation to create your own radio mobile compatible .ant file. It's a very handy document because as you're entering values into the document, there is a visual representation of what the pattern looks like as you're typing in the values. So it's a handy tool, a little time consuming, but it makes it to where you can create the antenna pattern that you wish to use and customize your account that just a little bit more. Your payment details page. This will show you all the payments that you may make to tower coverage. If you're a monthly subscription, a yearly subscription, you can view all of your payments. You can also click the button there's a button there for all your payments that you can print an invoice. This will make your accountant very happy because they can just come into tower coverage and print an invoice. The Tower Coverage Wiki is right here and available, so that way if you do have any questions and you don't see it in the tutorial or you don't see it on any of the help icons, you can just come here and click the wiki, or you can contact us. What this will do is it will give you this verification code, so that way you can call us, and it makes it very, very simple for us to locate your account and help you much quicker. Or you can just fill out this form and click send an email, and that's going to send an email directly to support@TowerCoverage.com right from inside your Tower Coverage account. All right. Now that we've covered all the account settings, we will start actually populating the account. The first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get your tower locations into Tower Coverage. This is very, very simple to do. You can go to Site and New Site, or you can actually click on the site and it'll take you to the list view. You can click on the map. If you know where your tower site is, you can simply click on the map, and as you can see, it changes the latitude and longitude over here on the right-hand side. Just by simply clicking on it. You can enter an address up here at the very top, and it will move the pin for you and find that for you. Or you can type in the latitude and longitude if that's what you really want to do. Or you can type in DMS latitude and longitude. Keep in mind when you're typing in the latitude and longitude or the degrees value for the DMS latitude and longitude, you do have to use the positive and negative accordingly. There is not a northeast, southwest identifier here, so you have to use the negative, positive values. So if you're in the Western Hemisphere, you are a negative longitude. If you are in the Southern Hemisphere, you are a negative latitude. and so on. So that make sure you use those. Your description field is very handy because what this does is it allows you to use this description and this group to identify something about this tower location, whether it be the address, the key code for the gate, whatever you want to do. Because on your multi-map you can show the pins and your installers, they can pull out tower coverage. It's very web friendly. They can click on the pin. And it'll show them the details of this tower, anything you put in those description and group fields. The description field, you actually, if you put a URL in there, any type of URL, it'll make that a clickable link in that info window as well whenever you click on those pins. Make sure you give it an identifying name of some sort, or you can download our import template. The import template is very simple to use. It's just a CSV file. It contains all these values as well. The only difference being is that there are a little more restrictions when filling out the template. When you enter the height field, height column in the template, you have to make sure you do it in whole number meter values. You cannot enter it in feet. It doesn't. The CSV upload doesn't know which one it is, so it assumes meters. It also assumes decimal degrees. It will not accept DMS latitude and longitude, so make sure you convert them prior to filling out the upload template. The description and group field can be left blank, just like here when you're creating a site. You can leave your description and group field blank in the CSV template, and you have to select a map pin value 1 through 4 accordingly, just as you see here on the screen. Red is 1, blue is 2, orange is 3, green is 4. And then you just save that as a CSV, you choose your file, and you import it into Tower Coverage, and it'll add all your sites for you. Once you have your tower sites all added into Tower Coverage, you can go the next step. You can go a couple different ways with it. You can go ahead and start adding your links if you want to, and just start adding your point-to-point links. Create your backbone first, which is what some people do, which is very simple to do. You just come to the new link page. And as you can see, it's going to, and one thing I failed to mention here is that the sites page or the links page, whenever you first create your account, one of the things we try to geolocate your address as soon as you create your account, so that way we can try to open up the map like in your area. If it doesn't open up in your area right away, just go into your account settings, go to your company profile, and click update, and see if and then go back to a new link or a new site and see if it'll open up in your area. Sometimes the registration page moves a little fast and doesn't give it time to geolocate that address, but that's an easy way to update it. But if you want to go ahead and create all your backbone links once you have all your towers in, you can do that by simply coming to the new link page. You can give the link a name, Tower A to Tower B, 5 gig, whatever you want to name it. You can use a radio system if you like. We have some default ones in here. You can see what the settings of these are down here in the radio system menu, or you can create yourself a new one. What the radio system does is pre-fills link values and coverage values. So all of these values are simply just saved in a radio system. So it essentially makes a cookie cutter for you to be able to apply across your network. You simply come down in here, you start selecting, you select your two different tower locations. It's going to try to draw a line for you, which this is probably not even close to possible link, but we'll go with it anyway. You select you a frequency, whichever frequency you want to use. As I said, we have pretty much all the frequencies available. If you don't see your frequency, let us know. You set your TX power. You can set this in dBm or milliwatts. So we're going to just set this 30 dB. Set your antenna gain, and we're just going to do it like real simple. Your receiving station, we'll do the same thing. You set your RX threshold. Your RX threshold is what is an acceptable signal for you. This value you will see on a link. You'll see it on a coverage as well. Basically, what this is the minimum signal requirement for a successful install. Your reliability setting. What this is essentially a fudge factor. This is to add or subtract statistical loss. You can use this to make minute adjustments to compensate for lot of noise in the area, a weak antenna, whatever the situation, a long link. The higher you turn this up, the more loss is going to be added. The lower you turn it down, the less loss is going to be added per distance. Whether to use land cover or not, we generally suggest that you always use your land cover settings. Otherwise, it essentially takes all of the trees and buildings out of the calculation completely, reducing the accuracy of a link or a coverage propagation. Now, if you just want to see if the terrain is in the way or not, then you can turn it off and just see if the terrain is in the way. But your signal is not going to be accurate if you turn the land cover off. Select your land cover settings, so you can select which one of these land cover types that you created previously. By default, everybody has the standard one, and then use 2-ray. This takes into consideration multipath reflection. So like if you have that, if it's an LTE stuff, you usually turn this on for like LTE situations and stuff. But otherwise, generally leave it off. Or if you're, doing a link over a large body of water, it also helps get some accuracy out of it as well. Once you hit create link, it's going to automatically try to create the link, and I guess with the settings that we put and the heights that we put, it actually made it. What's really nice about when you create links, we do have the Google Earth fly path. If you are a tier 3 account or greater, this allows you to download a KML of this link. You can drop that into Google Earth and click the little fly path button, and if 3D imagery is available in your area, it will actually show you if the 3D imagery it is representing the link shooting through an actual object, because the heights are more precise in that 3D imagery than they are with just normal clutter data. You can also see what the height of the beam is. That we've added that recently, to where you can actually pull this little slider, and if you want to see how high that beam is from the ground, you just pull the little slider over to that area, and you can see that right here in this spot where the little orange dot moved, it's 18.8 meters or 61.7 feet from the beam itself, so the green line you see here, to the terrain. So a handy little tool that we've added recently. You can see a little bit of data going on down here. So you see what the latitude and longitude is for the two different sides. You see what the ground elevation at each side is. The antenna height, which is directly brought over from your settings. The azimuth that you will have to point that antenna at, down to very, very precise measurements, and also a very precise tilt on how much tilt to put on it. So you can see a lot of statistics on what you need to do to make the link work. And then you also see what the RX sensitivity is, your setting that you set over here. The distance in kilometers and miles is already put in there. Your signal margin, so it has a positive signal margin of 16.3, and the projected signal is a -53.7. So a very handy little tool. Once you have your links created, you can actually take all those links and add those as a link group. So we have a link group in here. So basically this is just all of our links combined into a link group, so that way we can view them all together on our MultiMap when we get to that point. Once you have your links in, then you can go in. If you have fiber, you can add your fiber coverages, which is extremely simple to do. You open up your new fiber map, and simply just start clicking the map. You can add up to 25 points per fiber coverage, or 70 kilometers worth of distance. You can give it a name. You can set the distance allowed. And what this is going to do is going to take this line that you created, and it's going to buffer 30 meters or 98 feet off either side of this polyline. And it's going to make a polygon out of it and create a fiber coverage map. This way, whenever you get that EUS submission, if they fall within 30 meters of this line, your EUS submissions, not only will it give you the 6 best possible signals to the RF coverages on your map, it'll tell you the name of every fiber coverage that customer falls within as well. So that allows you to not only determine if you can get them a wireless signal, but if they're within range of your fiber or cable lines as well. Everything down below here is just for your tracking purposes. You can add some nodes, determine, mark whether it's single mode, multi-mode, whether it's for transport or distribution. Just for your notes, to be able to add some stuff in there to track what the purpose of this fiber coverage is. Fiber coverages, they create really quickly, so like they almost instantly, but you can see that there is now a 30 meter, or what's 60 meters wide, polygon, because it's 30 meters off each side of the line. Once you get all your fiber coverages created, then you can come and you can start creating coverages. Creating coverages, once you have everything else done, is very, very simple. You want to select your tower site. So once you select your tower site, it's going to automatically set the antenna height to whatever the default height is of that tower. You do not have to leave it that. You can change it to whatever you wish. So if you're not installed at the top, if this coverage isn't at the top of this tower, then you can change it to wherever it actually is at. Here's that RX threshold. Keep in mind this is in RSSI. We are working on compensating for LTE coverages and displaying RSRP as well, but that's not quite done yet. But it is coming, just so you guys know. Here's your required reliability setting, the same thing that we covered whenever we were creating links. We have our strong signal margin. All this setting does is it takes your RX threshold and it uses the RX threshold and this signal margin to determine where the strong color and the weak signal colors are. As you can see, as we move this slider, the values in the overlay settings for the strong and weak signal colors change. That's all this setting does is shows where the green stops and the red starts. You can change these colors if you wish. For an individual coverage, keep in mind whenever you put your coverages into a multi-map, they will go to default multi-map colors of light green and dark green. So it'll be light green for the strong signal areas and dark green for the weak signal areas. Here are the same settings as well. Your use land cover settings, your land cover type, your use two rays. We have one added one here, which is called create viewshed. What this does is takes all of the densities from your land cover settings. So it still uses the height of your land cover type settings, but it will ignore all the densities and it will turn all of the densities for this coverage up to 10,000%. It will not change your actual land cover setting. It only applies maximum density to this coverage alone. So this is a good way to for your a coverage that you don't want to go out there unless it is 100% perfect line of sight. You can go ahead and turn that on if that's what you wish to do. Your average client height, whatever the average household install height, or if it's a business area, whatever the average height is for your installs. Your client antenna gain, we do recommend that you use the largest install antenna that will be used on this coverage. That way you get an accurate propagation of what is completely possible for this coverage, and then that way whenever you get those EUS submissions or you do a path analysis, if the signal is really hot, then you can take a smaller antenna. You don't have to take that that large reflector dish with you. Your RX loss is the exact same thing as your TX loss as well. You want to make sure that if you are running LMR or anything like that, not very common, but if you are, you want to make sure you look at the statistics or data sheet of the cable you're using, measure out how many feet of it you're using, calculate the loss, and put that in here so that way you get more accuracy. When you're naming your coverage, you want to make sure it's something identifying, so that way you can pick those out of your list easily and find the coverages. So if this is your Tower A 5 gigahertz north facing sector, you can simply put Tower A 5 gig north, something like that, something to identify which coverage this is. You can also, if you want to use the coverage array settings down here in the right, you can actually just name it Tower A 5 gig, and this coverage array will actually tack on the azimuth degree each one is creating. So as you fill out everything, if you decide you're wanting to populate a 360 propagation with 65 degree antennas, you can Select one here. Well, we'll use 60. There's 60 right there. Makes it a little bit easier. You can set your antenna gain, your beam width filter setting. The beam width filter, this does not affect propagation whatsoever. This is the EUS beam width filter. So it only affects the EUS system and the path analysis system. It does not affect propagation. What this does is it makes it to where it takes the center line of your azimuth, which is your azimuth, and divides the beam width filter by 2 and puts that much of a pi on either side of the center line. If an EUS submission or a path analysis is attempted even 0.1 of a degree outside of that beam width filter, it will return link not possible. The reason for this is because sectors have some backfeed and side lobes. If you do not want to utilize the side lobes of the antenna, and you definitely don't want to point a customer at the back of an antenna just because the signal is possible, doesn't mean you want to do it. This will restrict it to whatever you want it to be. So a 60-degree panel, you could set this beam width filter to 90 degrees if you're wanting to utilize the side lobes, or you can leave it at 60 if you don't want to utilize those side lobes. But keep in mind, especially with your LTE stuff, that a 60-degree antenna on it for an LTE is like 110 degree spread, with still gets good signal way out there. So keep that stuff in mind whenever you're setting these settings. Your antenna azimuth is a 0 to 360 degree value. 0 and 360 are both due north, but you can set this whatever the magnetic azimuth direction that the antenna is pointing. If you don't know exactly what it is, you can just type something in here, and the little azimuth will point and show you where that is actually pointing on a compass. Your antenna tilt is a positive or negative value. Positive value for up tilt, negative value for down tilt. Select your frequency. Your exact center frequency can be left blank if you wish, but if you want to use the frequency usage feature on the MultiMap, you will need to put something in there. But you can leave it blank if you want to. Once again, your TX power and your loss. Your rendering quality. If you're just trying to get stuff set up, you can process them on low resolution first. This will make your coverages propagate much faster and process quicker, so that way you can see what it's kind of going to look like. And then once you have it all honed in and everything, then you can go back and you can reprocess them on high or very high, and then walk away, go get yourself a cup of coffee while they're processing. Even on high resolution, our average processing time for a coverage is only 32 to 35 seconds anyway. So if you're in no hurry, you can just do them on high resolution right from the get-go too. Your opacity is how light or how dark the coverage area is. Your maximum range setting. This can be set all the way up to 70 kilometers, but do keep in mind that we do not propagate past 30 kilometers. This is simply for path analysis and EUS. They will still they will do the point-to-point link path analysis on a path analysis or EUS submission, but your coverage map will stop at 30 kilometers. It will not generate the heat map any further out than that. And then once you get down to your coverage array settings, if you're wanting to create a 360 array, you can choose whether to evenly space them or not. Basically what this does is if you have your 60-degree sectors and it's LTE, you point one due north, you point one to the east and one to the west and one to the south, you can actually just set your antenna azimuth over here to 0. That will start the first one at a 0 azimuth, and then it will go around the tower, creating however many coverages right here that you tell it to create. By default, it's going to try to make a perfect 360. So it'll fill this in with how many it thinks you might want. But if you're only wanting to do 4, you can do 4 coverages evenly spaced, and you set your advertised beam width. Now this is actually what is advertised, not the beam width filter settings. So this is used to calculate where to place each one. It will carry over from whichever antenna that you select. It's going to carry it over into here, but you can change it if you like. So what this is going to do is it's going to take this first coverage, it's going to set it at 0, and it's going to take your coverage name and tack on the 0 degrees at the end of it. Then it'll go and it'll make the next coverage. If we set this over here to 4, what it's going to do, it's going to go to the next coverage. It'll take the coverage name, it'll tack on the azimuth degree setting. So with 4 coverages, the second one is going to land at 90 degrees. So it will take the coverage name and tack on 90 degree to the end of it, so on and so forth, and until it runs out of how many coverages you told it to create. And you can see that right here. So right here in the example, we have the 0 degree, the 180 degree, and the 270 degree, and that was created with the coverage array settings. Once you have all your coverages in your Tower Coverage account, you can also, there's another feature inside your coverages that's pretty handy. This is one of the features that does use API calls, is the bulk coverage update. You can, if you wanted to make the same change to several coverages, so like this Tower A, 60 degree, all these right here, we can simply go in, hit update checked. It's going to give us a thumbnail of each of the coverages, and then it gives us all the options that you've seen in the coverage map or coverage creation. It gives you the option to change those as well here. It's not going to change anything that you do not turn on. So if you're only wanting to come in here and change the tilt of all these coverages, you can come in here and say we want to change all of these coverages, and we want to put a 4-degree down tilt on all of them. So it will notify you that this is an API feature. So if you don't have enough API calls, it will only do as many as you have calls available to do. But as you can see, it took all 4 of those coverages and it put them into the queue for processing all at the same time, and it only made that one change that we told it to make, and it used our 4 API calls, as you can see. Once you have all of your coverages set up in your Tower Coverage account, you are going to want to make multi-maps. You can click on multi-map and actually select new up here, or you can just hover over it and hit new to select your maps. So what we're going to do is we're going to create 2 different types of maps. We have our support map for EUS. We're going to go ahead and put our pins on our sites, and we're going to make this a data collection map. And we want to display our fibers. We're going to set our zoom it in just a little bit. And we're going to go ahead and put all of them in here because this is going to be our full network map. So we will check them all and add selected. And you can see that they're all over here to include all of our fibers. And then if we changed our mind and we don't want this one in here, we click our X and it'll kick it back out. Very simple, very easy to do. As you can see, it's starting to create the map already. Once your multi-maps are done, you can click on them in your recent changes, or you can go back to your multi-map list. And this is our multi-map. So this is our House Springs multi-map. Excuse me. So in the multi-map, there's a lot of different features available in your multi-map. You can simply view the iframe. So as you can see, this one is the iframe for this map is displaying an actual map with the coverage area. You can take this iframe and go paste it on your website and actually have a visual Google Map representation of your coverage area. It's very simple to change it from a multi-map view on your website to a data collection map because switching that little switch is an active switch, so you want to make sure that nobody goes flipping those switches on a map that's integrated on your website. So your input users can change those, and your admins can change them. Your read-only cannot. So this is the EUS iframe form. When customers fill this out, it's going to geolocate their address location. And as I said when we were going over settings, what this is going to do is it's going to get their location. It's going to use your settings from your EUS settings, and there's your movable pin text. So if the pin doesn't geolocate right to the correct location, they can move the pin around and they can click finish, and it then again uses our EUS settings, displays the thanks message. This one here is because it's in our box, it's a little shortened because we got a lot of text in there. But you can change that however you like on your website. You can expand this container out to be full width of your web page if you want, or you can make it a bit smaller, however you wish to do that. But then what that does is that's how you can actually manually enter EUS data into your account if you're just on the phone with them. This is where I explained from your user settings. If you select the start page and you set your sales team to where they open this map up directly, they can, as soon as their phone rings and they're starting to talk to a customer, they can go to Tower Coverage, log into it, and they can have this open and just start typing in their information. And within a very short amount of time, you actually have an answer for them as to whether it's possible to get them service. So it's a very handy tool for your sales team to utilize. To integrate that form on your website, you simply just click the copy iframe code, and then you just go over to your web page and you hit paste. As you can see here, I just pasted up here in the address bar, so it directly pasted the iframe code into the address bar. You just do the same thing on your web page, and save it and apply it, and it'll be there. If you want to change the coverages that are in your map, you simply click your update settings here. So as you can see, all these ones on the left we did not put in the map. This is only our House Springs coverages, so that's the only ones that are in there. You can take them out, or you can put them back in as you like, or you can add more. However you wish to do it. You can also do a bulk update of the included coverages. So if we just wanted to change these, this is the same thing as going to your coverages, checking those, and then going update. It will take everything that's in this right-hand window. If you click this button, it'll take everything in the right-hand window and take you to the bulk update, so that way you can make a change. This is very handy for if you're wanting to get the address list from this multi-coverage. And you want to go and you want to change the RX threshold down to a -50. So that way the only addresses that you get from this map are the people that are a -50 or better. It makes it very handy for the address list feature, and we'll kind of cover that here in a little bit. I'll show you the address list here. Excuse me. You can update the name automatically if you just want to change the name. So that way it's more identifiable. It automatically does it. Most of the settings on your multi-coverage, they are automatic settings adjustments, with the exception of the included coverages or fiber coverages. So the only time you have to reprocess a map is if you're adding or subtracting multi-coverages. All this other stuff automatically updates. If you don't like the view, we have the option of different types of map views. Right down here, you can select whichever type of view you want. If you want to see what the weather is like in your area, right now there's not anything going on over top of us, but that uses Weather Underground, and it displays the radar map for your area. Here are your KML overlays that you uploaded into your account. You have your link group if you're wanting to view those. So as you can see, here's the link group that we have created. So we can view the statistics of any of the given links as well. And then we also have our frequency groups. And this one doesn't have any center frequencies. I'll have to grab a different map, but it shows it basically will show you a display of all the different frequencies. The different channels that you set your exact center frequency to, it'll display them in different colors. If you don't want to use your mouse we have the scroll in and scroll out right here. You can search for an address. So you can either click on refresh because we had that overlay on. So you can click on your map and drop a pin to do a path analysis, which the path analysis is right down here. This will pop up and ask you if you want to use the coverage settings or if you want to use a custom height. And this one is outside. This is an example of the beam width filter. Can't remember which way the azimuth is facing on this one. There we go. So this one's up to the north. So it's going to give the 6 best possible signals, or the 6 best possible. This one only has one available. Let's grab a different map here. We're going to go into this one because this one has all of it. Much better example. So this one here will give us a better example of our path analysis. There we go. So this gives our 6 best possible signals. So as you can see, this one only has 5 available that it falls within the range or within the beam width filter. And it does not fall within any of the location that we selected doesn't fall in any fiber coverages, otherwise they're listed here. This has our little slider on it, so that way we can view the different types of land cover or what is where. And you can also select a different one and do the same thing for any of them. It shows you all the same, basically the same statistics that a point-to-point link shows. But it actually shows a representation of the 6 best possible signals for your coverage area. As I stated before, you can get the data from your tower locations by simply clicking on the map or the map pins. And as you can see, our fiber coverages are also down inside here as well, the ones that we added in. We have our ASR Tower feature here. It does take a second to start loading here. There you go. You'll see the orange dots start popping up. What this is the FCC ASR database loading onto the map for you. So what this allows you to do is actually view what towers in your area are registered with the FCC. We have a clickable link here that will take you to the actual registration data of this tower location. Keep in mind, I think towers have to be, I believe, 200 feet tall before they have to be registered. So not every single tower is going to show up, just the ones that are required to be registered with the FCC. And then you have your view EUS data down here. What's really nice about this is makes it to where you can view all of the EUS data on your account. As you can see, we've got several of them. We have a serviceable pin. We got no service pins. We have a new EUS down here. This is, I believe, the one yep, that's the one we just did. And we just submitted. So as you can see, your sales team can come in the morning and all they have to do is open up the map. All EUSs that come through the iframe are automatically set to the new EUS pin type. That allows you to come in here and just look for yellow pins. You don't have to analyze much of anything. You have the option of opening up the MultiMap and looking for yellow pins, or as you can see right here on your dashboard, there's the non-updated EUS data. The stuff that's over here, it means that the pin type has never been changed, no comments have ever been added to it, it's never been updated at all. So these will stay here until some kind of update happens to them. But like I said, you can go and you can just simply get to them. So like this one here didn't have where the location we selected and the map that we had it assigned to. As you recall, we filled this out from the map that had very few EUS, or excuse me, very few coverages in it. So it didn't fall within range or anything. That's the message that you will see. If it is one that it does fall within, this one here went for the full multi-map. The one with all the coverages, as you can see, it has the 6 best possible link, and it actually fell within the Sugar Creek fiber circuit as well. So we can change this pin type to whatever pin type we want. All of your custom pins will appear down in here as well. You can remove it. You can choose whether it's actually displayed on the map. You can edit and reprocess it. So if the customer didn't actually move the pin and you want to go and adjust the pin and say, okay, well, it's actually over here. You can actually reprocess this. And it makes it very simple to make little adjustments. It literally is just updating the value of that form. Sorry for the delay. We're dragging a little bit. And then another nice feature that once you have all your data in your account, there's a lot of powerful things that you can do with your data as well. If you're tracking all of your failed installs or all of the ones that you couldn't get service to, you can do an advanced search to find. There's all kinds of different variables that you can search by. You can also create a saved search as well. So we have our saved search that is no service. So basically what we did is we just did an advanced search and did a search for all of the no service pin types. We searched for just no service pin types, and we told it to not show duplicates. So we gave it a name, told it to save it, and that's what created this saved search. Once you create a saved search, if you know your leads are not coming in, nobody's really filling out your website form, you want to go back and try and touch on a place where you customers that you couldn't get before. You can use our best tower feature. So if you're a tier 3 or higher, you can create your saved search and you can use the best tower. This allows you to come in, create a saved search of your no service pin type. You can select create a new best tower feature. Select your no service pin type, tell it to create that. It will pop up to ask you what parameters to use. It's going to assume that you're going to do a 360 coverage, so it bases it off of an omni coverage. Once you fill this out, it does take a little bit to process, anywhere from 2 minutes to 15 minutes for a best tower heat map to process. It is millions and millions and millions of calculations. It basically does a reverse path analysis to every location in the area and checks all of the customers that you submitted to this to the feature, and checks to see if they have a positive signal margin. Once you create that that best tower, it's going to show you this this heat map here. And the heat map represents, as you can see over here on the left, the warmer the color, the more of those submissions that were able to be reached. The cooler the color, the less of them that were able to be reached. This allows you to come in and zoom in on one of your hot areas, and you can do one of a couple things. You can click on the map in one of the hot areas, and over here on the left hand side it will tell you what the address is to that location. You can drive out there and see if that's an area that you're actually able to purchase a spot to put up a tower, or as you can see, our orange dots are starting to appear in here as well, which is the ASR towers. So basically you can just find one of these ASR towers, one of the registered towers that are already built, click on this, and that allows you to actually go to the registration of that tower, get the contact information. We open this up in a different tab here. So we got the FCC registration for the tower that is standing at that location already. So you can have the address and the contact information for who owns that tower. So tower coverage, all in all, tower coverage will allow you to collect your customer data, generate your maps, track your fiber coverages, track your installed coverages, and then after all of that is said and done, then you can also use it to complete your FCC 477. You can get an address list from your customer locations. We have an address list already downloaded here, but it's very easy to order an address list of your customer locations. You come over here to the orders tab. We have our address list feature. As I said, the two different portions of the FCC 477. Do keep in mind that is coming up as of the 1st of July. We can start knocking those out. It is due by September 1st, so you can get your tower coverage account set up. You can get an accurate list of census blocks. There's a lot of billing systems that will give you sort of a list of your blocks. Tower coverage actually does RF propagation, so we give you the blocks for the entire area that coverage is possible, not just where you have customers. You want to make sure you're reporting accurately, so that way somebody doesn't come in and get FCC funding to put up a WISP right in the middle of your network just because you didn't tell them that you already had service there. If they don't know you're there, they'll give funding to somebody else to put a WISP up right in the middle of your network. So you want to make sure you're doing that 477 accurately. It's very important. You can order the KML shapefiles if you just want to, make a marketing map, to display, to make a big poster for your wall. You can order your KML files here, or you can do your address list. The address list is very simple. You just come in here, select which multi-map that you want to get an address list for. You select get your address count. It's going to put that into processing. It doesn't take very long to get a count, but it'll give you a count of how many addresses fall within the coverage area of your map. And then you can purchase those. They're only 10 cents per address. So, if you hone it down to everything that is a neg 50 or better, it makes it very simple for you to, get that address list, and that every one of the addresses on this list are going to be a really good signal. So this is one of the completed address list. It just right here, it's just showing a very small amount of the data. When you click this download completed list up here in the top left after you purchase your address list, this list is very detailed. It gives you the parcel ID, it gives you the physical ID, it gives you the mailing address. If the mailing address is different than the physical address, it will give you both of them. It'll tell you any details that are available about the actual property as well. The name of the person who owns it, how big the house is. Not all of the columns will be available. This list is literally we pull the data if there is a physical address available reported by the county. So it's not 100% of all of the properties. There has to be a physical address available for us to give it to you. But there are several other columns in there that if the county reported it, we do give you everything that they reported. So it's very, very powerful list. It makes it to where you can actually do targeted marketing, and instead of just sending out mailers or having somebody going out putting signs up or doing door hangers on houses you don't even know if you can get type deal. This takes your coverage map and it checks to see any address that falls in the green. So whether if they have a positive signal margin, we pull the address and give it to you. But with that, that basically covers our basics webinar. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over the mic over to Dennis Burgess. He's going to go over questions and answers. If you do still have a question, there is a chat box there, or a questions box. Type it in there, and he's going to go over questions and answers with you. Oh, I think I might have lost. Oh, I'll go ahead and go over him here. I think I lost him. Let's see here. One sec here. See if we only have a couple questions at this time. Okay, we had one person asking if the iframe uses API calls. The iframe does not use API calls. If you use the iframe for website integration, the iframe will not use any API calls, and the push that we do to your billing system does not use API calls either. The only thing that uses API calls is the actual api.towercoverage.com. You can go to wiki.towercoverage.com/API overview.html. You can see all of the APIs that are available. You can also go to the wiki. There's the API getting started, and it will bring you to this page as well. So this is all of the different APIs that are available. We have a pre-qualification API. This one here doesn't collect any data. It doesn't store anything in your account. It literally just responds with a yes or a no as to whether a location can get service. You can add just an address in here, or you can do address Latin long. It'll ignore the address and use the Latin long, and it will literally respond with just a yes or no within 4 seconds. I think is the longest I've ever seen it take to respond. So it responds very quickly. We have the EUS submission API. This is all of the same data as the iframe, except this takes an API call. This allows you to create a custom form. If you don't like the way the iframe looks, you can sit there and use the API and create your own form and make it look however you want. There's all kinds of APIs available. Only the stuff in this list here that you see on the page currently is the stuff that uses API calls, with the exception of the features that we covered inside Tower Coverage to use it, but the iframe and the billing API do not. We had one question: how do you accurately select correct foliage settings? The best way to adjust your land cover settings is based on real world signals at customer locations. So there's a lot of different things that affect it. So the best way to do it is to actually go out and get some customer data or get some location data, and then make minute adjustments to your land cover settings with that real world data. Okay, so had somebody ask if you can upload an existing portfolio from an Excel file or all inputs per site. So you can upload all of your tower locations into Tower Coverage by using the bulk site upload. We can do a coverage upload that we do charge billable time for doing a coverage upload, but we can do it. If you want the CSV template for that, you can shoot us an email at support@TowerCoverage.com and request the coverage upload CSV, and we will get it, or you can give us a call, 636-671-6262, and we can go over that with you, and it's generally it only takes about 30 minutes of billable time, but we can upload it if you give us all the correct data. And keep in mind, you do have to have APIs available because we utilize the API to push your data into your Tower Coverage account. But for the just plain uploads, the sites and your customer data is the only thing that can be uploaded via the inside Tower Coverage. That's all of the questions we currently have. I don't see any more at this time. If you do think of any more questions after the webinar is over, like I said, you can give us an email, shoot us an email. You can go into your account. You can send the email directly from your account. You can email us at support@TowerCoverage.com, or you can give us a call, 636-671-6262. We are here from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. So if you want to give us a call during those times, we would be happy to go over anything with you, or shoot us an email. If it's not business hours, shoot us an email. The first thing we do when we get here in the morning is make sure we answer our Tower Coverage customers. But if nobody else has any other questions, we will go ahead and close out the webinar for today. Thank you guys all for coming. Thank you, Jim and Dennis, for answering questions for me. You guys have a very nice day, and thank you, and welcome to TowerCoverage.com.